Happy October 2020, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Griever, as always, bringing you guys know what this is. This is Castlevania Season 2 review. Now, alright. I'm going to try to keep this one a little better than the last video. Last video, I had lighting problems. Last video, I also ranted about stuff. This one, we're going to still talk about Dracula here at the end of the season. And, of course, spoiler warnings, guys. I mean, season review. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. But I didn't say that in the last one. But, yeah, okay. Spoiler warning ahead. Alright, so for Season 2, if you're not caught up. I haven't watched Season 3 yet. I'll be watching Season 3 shortly after making this video. So, alright. This one had, I believe, 8 episodes this season. So, double the amount from the last season, which, as I explained in the last video, was basically a prologue, a prelude to what we got, right? And I... Basically, half of that video was me talking about Dracula, his justification, and his character for doing all this. And I love the evolution. They didn't just sit on their laurels with that. They did not sit on their laurels. He is the protagonist of this story, which, when we come to the end of the video, I'm going to discuss what's going to happen next. But he is the protagonist because they didn't just sit on that. They could have just sat on that. It would be easy. He was a recluse, didn't want to rejoin the world, didn't like humanity. His wife, beacon of light, pretty much brought him back into the world, and the world basically went to him. And it was like, all right, you're going to smack me down, you know, with the single hand? I'm going to friggin' uppercut you for days. And that's basically what he did. He unleashed the Night Horde. He did all that stuff. And now we're getting a total, like, it would have been easy to just keep him at that. All right. He's three-dimensional already in Season 1. He's three-dimensional. We're good. They don't just sit on that. They do not just sit on that. And we'll talk about that. First, we'll talk about that at the end of the video. We'll go over Dracula's character a little bit. I seriously probably could have just made, instead of reviewing the seasons, looking at my first review, and now what I know I'm going to rant about here in this review video, I could have probably just made character discussion. You know, here's Dracula, here's Alucard, here's Trevor, done. You know, or something like that, right? So, yeah, I probably could have done that. But anyways, so here we are. Season 2, we get a lot more characters. Hector and Isaac, 2 humans in Dracula's horde. 2 humans. Forge Masters, apparently. Apparently, these are characters in the games, but from games I have not ever played, so I wasn't really aware of these characters. We also get, of course, Carmilla, who's very famous, you know. I think Godbrand is even an actual vampire in history or lore. But yeah, we get Carmilla, we get Hector and Isaac as Forge Masters, we get, who else? Who else is into this thing? Well, I mean, there's a few more characters and stuff, but the thing is that we have split focus now. We're focusing not just on the adventures of Trevor, Alucard, and, how do you say her name? Silpha. Yeah. Anyways, so they're going around and they're trying to, of course, figure out a way to do all this. They decide to go to the Belmont home, yada, yada, yada. The war is going apparently quite well, but somehow, like, they're ravaging Europe. But it seems like Dracula has this war council and they don't really have much direction. He leaves it to Hector and Isaac, the 2 humans. That's causing discord, you know, because, of course, why is he keeping 2 pet humans? Why are they in charge? What the hell? Isaac and Hector as Forge Masters are able to basically reanimate corpses, and they follow them. Now, Isaac and Hector are very loyal to Dracula because he basically saved them, sort of deal. He saved Isaac, he saved Hector, sort of idea. We get their backstories. They're quite interesting. Hector's, I find, almost, like, sadly tragic. The way Carmilla and Isaac talk about him and stuff like that is quite accurate, unfortunately. He might be an adult male, but he's basically still got a childlike naivete in him. Because what he wants, like, he treats them all as pets. Like, they're his pets because in his backstory, which, as I said, I find it's the better of the 2 backstories, though we don't really have a full fleshed out one of Isaac's, really. I mean, I suppose we do, but I found, like, Isaac's is more classic sort of idea. This one's a little more disturbing, but that makes it better sort of idea with Hector's, is he found found poor dead animals, and he used his power. He managed to reanimate them. And it's not like, by the sounds of it, they wouldn't be harmful. But as Dracula also points out, well, parents aren't usually thrilled when they have a reanimated dead cat running around their house. And it's like, all right, fair enough. And of course, this is in the time of ignorance and not the time of knowledge and science and understanding. So it's not exactly, and this is just pure magic, no science involved. But nonetheless, I really felt bad for Hector's character, because when in his backstory, he reanimates like a golden retriever looking thing, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like, you could try to patch him up, maybe hone your skills so you can reanimate him a little better. Maybe add some fur there and try to fix it up so he doesn't look like a hellhound or a demented thing. But like, all in all right. He's loyal. He's not going to bite the neighbors, right? So what's the problem, right? Like, this might seem a little twisted, guys. I'm not exactly saying that I'd love to have a bunch of dead animals reanimated walking around my house either, but at the same time, they're not actually evil. They're not going to hurt anybody. They're loyal to you and to you alone. It's kind of sad in a way, but at the same time, he had no friends. He was a weird kid. His parents, he ended up burning his house down by the sounds of it, with his parents still inside because they hated him for his evil ways and all that stuff. So, yeah, Hector, fully fleshed out. His major betrayal here seemed to be a little rushed, and it wasn't exactly a betrayal. He was trying to push forward for a plan that he thought was smarter, because he realized that Dracula was tired. Everybody started to realize Dracula hasn't really been drinking any blood. He seems tired all the time. He's doing this. We'll get more into this with Dracula's character, but everybody was having doubts about Dracula. He was losing his grip. He wasn't like fire in his eyes and standing over everyone, micromanaging everything. He was basically sitting back as like the CEO figurehead that's like in a hospital bed that's like, I just need to sign this one piece of paper for the week. All right, leave me alone. Let me be. You guys make all the decisions for the multi-million-dollar company, right? It seemed to be more like that after a time, and that's what everybody brings up. Isaac brings it up, Hector brings it up, Carmilla, Godbrand, they all bring this up, that Dracula's not really himself, and this war is not going to go well if that's the case. Now, so they're trying to strategize. Hector and Isaac are the two who are leading the armies. So Carmilla, of course, is using her devious tactics to try to convince Hector, though it's still a sound plan. He didn't really actively betray Dracula, like full on, okay, let's stab him in the back and try to kill him. That wasn't the point. The point was to try to move the war in a more favorable direction for Dracula. That was sort of Hector's idea and understanding. So his betrayal for some people might have come like sort of quick and not really understanding, but remember that he wasn't actively betraying Dracula. He was just trying to go, well, you did leave me in charge. You don't seem to be in the best of health or mind, and I don't want to bore you with this stuff. Like, why don't we just take our armies and attack this way instead, right? Like, he wasn't like, okay, Carmilla's going to attack this. They're going to invade the fortress. They're going to kill everybody. Holy water everywhere. Like, maybe I'm misremembering. I did just, like, I had to binge watch so I can get these videos out, but I don't believe he had any awareness about all that shit going down, right? So, the betrayal was sort of like lukewarm at best, right? It wasn't like hot, 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 pants on fire sort of idea, right? Liar, liar, pants on fire. So, yeah, Hector as a character, I find him intriguing. I find him interesting. He's still alive, so, okay. And, from apparently him and Carmilla seem to be able to get away from all the crap that happened at the end. So, what's going to go on there? No idea. We have Isaac, who, slightly different story, apparently taken, I forget, really, I found his backstory sort of like it was sort of almost monologued, and it didn't really seem like the only scene that I remember about it was him being whipped by the priest, who was just a total bastard, and he ended up gouging out his eyes and stuff. So it sounded like he was like a slave or something like that, and then he was mistreated for trying to learn, and he was mistreated, abused, and he finally had enough, killed Buddy, and then somehow he met Dracula. I forget, they had a conversation at one point. You are still my friend. Yes, I am still your friend, Isaac. You know, and so, yeah, that's Isaac. Isaac's, you know, seems to be more loyal than anybody else to Dracula. He's loyal to a fault. He ends up killing the most rambunctious, the Norse, the Viking vampire of the group of the War Council, Godbrand, who's a Viking leader of his sect up in the north. And he seems to be more of a, let's, you know, if I can't kill it, I'm going to fuck it. If I can't kill it or fuck it, I'm going to eat it. And if you can't do any, all three, he'll just try to do all three until something works, right? That's his character. You know, we've seen that character before. He's got doubts about the War Council, doubts about Dracula, doubts about this, doubts about that, doubts about everything, right? And his character ends up, once again, when he gets a little big for his britches, Isaac just kills him. He's like, yeah, he's a bit of a threat too. And nobody ever finds that out. Nobody. Dracula never finds out. Hector and Carmilla never find out. Nobody seems to find out. The Godbrand literally just died. Isaac murdered him, straight up, killed him, and due to loyalty to Dracula, and no problem. But I don't remember anybody ever actually finding out that he killed Godbrand. So there was that whole thing. That was, I mean, salute, you know, Godbrand, but you did for the second time, I guess.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
So yeah, so we not only got those characters, which, as I said, some a little more 1 or 2-ish dimensional, but some definitely 3-dimensional. Carmilla is exactly what we all expected. Carmilla is almost always portrayed as a seductress, because, I mean, that's her character. It's the same with Dracula. It's a gets that sort of that, it's not a stereotype role. It's a, typical role, but I can't think of the term I'm looking for. But either way, she's always a typecast. Carmilla, as a character in fiction, is always typecast relatively the same. And here is no real exception. But that's not a bad thing either. It really brings more, it adds the necessary wrench into the mix to get all of this stuff to go down. Without the discord with that, I don't think they ever would have gotten close to Dracula at the finale, right? I don't think that would have been possible with all the stuff that was going down. And then, so Carmilla, we don't really get, as I said, she's typecast at this point. There's not really a whole lot to say about her. She's not a bad character. She's a manipulator. She's a seductress. She lusts for power. She hates all the other vampires, it seems. She hates humans, hates vampires, hates well, doesn't hate vampires, but doesn't care for Dracula or his war, doesn't care for A, B, C. She just seems to want. She lusts for power as much as she lusts for everything else. So that's her character. Then I guess we should talk about following Trevor. You know, the actual, we've been talking about all the antagonists and all their backstories. Well, I guess we should talk about the actual main cast and what they've been up to. So they have been traveling, looking for the old Belmont hold. It was pretty much their story. Can't really go much further than that. That's pretty much it. They go, we don't really have a plan. How do we find Dracula's castle? It moves at a blink of an eye, wherever he wills it. What do we do? And Trevor's just like, well, let's just go back to my old home. Let's go back to the Belmont estate, because underneath, you know, it's old ruins. But of course, we have the secret section under the earth. And, you know, very classic. And so they decide to go there. And because they need a way, they're hoping that they might find it in the libraries of the Belmont clan. They might find they actually reference Leon Belmont as the start of the clan, so that's fitting in with the Castlevania lore and history. And they go in there. Adrian and Trevor are always, you know, giving each other the finger and stuff, so that's actually hilarious. I love their dynamic. I actually love the dynamic between all three of them. They are a really fun group of characters. I've really enjoyed them. And I really like seeing them on screen. Like, not at any point in these 8 episodes did I feel bored. Or like the Carmilla plot line is like, ugh. Alright, well, I don't need to pause it. Hey babe, I can scrub the potatoes for you, no problem. Actually, I'm gonna pour myself a beer. Yeah, no problem. I got like 5-6 minutes of this. I'm not missing much. At no point, you know how sometimes you feel like that, even in your favorite shows, there's like a plot line or a couple of characters that are doing a plot line in season 3 that you're just not interested in. I didn't feel at any point any of these were uninteresting. I was always on the edge of my seat. I was always paying attention. And when I was like, wait, what did I miss? And I rarely do this, I would rewind. I wanted to make sure I heard it correctly. I wanted to make sure I got a reference, made sure I understood it. I was all on board with that stuff, and it was great. And the Belmont hold was amazing. All the lore and history. As I said, the dynamic between Trevor and Adrian's got to be, or Alucard, whatever you want to call him, it's got to be one of the best. It's just so fun because it's out of nowhere. You don't expect that, though this is sort of anime-esque, it's animated, it's rated R. I understand all that, but you don't expect them to be walking around and be like, oh, you have a tiny dick, you little shit stain, and stuff like that, or like pig shit, and just these random insults that they are actually go, oh, hey, fuck you. It's just like, what? Like, it sort of seems out of place, but in the best of ways, because it seems strong and powerful. It's done intentionally, and I just love it. It's all done nonchalantly. Anyways, that is definitely the best way to describe it. And it works. It works for their character. And in the Belmont hold, of course, Trevor gets the vampire killer. Finally, Trevor Belmont has the vampire killer. I think he calls it, it's an upgraded version. I had to look it up. I was like, is that supposed to be the vampire killer? Apparently, it's the Morning Star. It's the full upgrade to the vampire killer. In some games, how you can always upgrade your whip even as far back as the NES. So you get a longer, stronger whip sort of idea. You get the upgrades. So apparently the fully upgraded version of Vampire Killer is called the Morning Star. And it's a literal Morning Star, sort of like a flail. It's got the end. And he uses it to great devastation. It stabs things. It blows them up sort of like at a 2-second delay. It's like stab, ding, boom. It's awesome. Really like that. What else? Just trying to think. As I said, the plot lines are all super interesting. And then I guess the last thing to really talk about the last 2 things is the ending and how that affects everyone, and then we'll get on to Dracula's character. So, in the end, while in the Belmont hold, they learn all this stuff, they learn all this lore, they find this mirror and all this stuff. At the end of the day, it's Silpha. She ends up being able to use a spell that can fight against the engines of Dracula's castle and pull it right to their location. So that's what she managed to do. She managed to pull the castle straight to them so they can have their battle. Now, while this is happening, they go to this place, Brela, I believe it is. They go to this place of Brela. The actual castle is going, which is the area that Carmilla wanted to go, that she convinced Hector to convince Isaac to go. Godbrand is dead at this point. They convince everyone that's where we'll go. Dracula is on board. And they're going there to wipe them out. Not knowing that all the troops stationed in Brela are actually Carmilla's troops, and she's planning on taking over the castle and slaughtering Dracula and taking the throne, and being in her war. Now, this starts to happen. All the holy water goes everywhere. It seems that she has some people on her side as well, it appears. Like she's got some of the other vampire lords or something. It's hard to really tell with all the chaos of the battle. But this all goes down. And during this, Silphus, whatever, she's contracting the spell, she's pulling the castle towards the Belmont hold. She ends up doing it, dropping it right on top, and now we get the real final battle. Now Dracula's involved, right? So everybody stops and tries to take on Alucard, Silpha, and a couple of the lords actually, which they do kill. They kill 3 or 4 of the warlords that are there, and Trevor, and they all slaughter all of them. Then it's Dracula. and Dracula kicks the crap out of most of them, okay? Let's just be straight up. This was an epic fight. I didn't talk enough about the great animation in the first season review video, but I gotta say, I love the animation. I love the style. The fight scenes are 11 out of 10. Something about them is just phenomenal. It's fantastic. Like, soundtrack is fantastic as well. See, I didn't, that first video was kind of, I always hate starting a new series, guys. I always hate it because I always have all these great ideas of what I want to say, and then I see the timer and I see that the video's going like way longer than I want the video to go, and then I forget to talk about the music, the score, the soundtrack, the cinematography, the fight scenes, the animation. I forget to talk about all the other key points. So right here, just want to reiterate, the animation, the music, all that, fire. It's absolute fire. And the fight scenes are just so good. And this final one is amazing, especially when it's pretty much Trevor and Silva. They can't do much, really. Like, I mean, they help, but at the end of the day, it's Alucard versus Dracula. That's what it boils down to. And as he says before, it's like, you couldn't stop me before. What's changed, pretty much. Now, two things to note. I think that's why they brought this up. I wonder if this will be brought up later in season 3. I'm not sure. But halfway through the series, halfway through the season, they did discuss that Dracula is looking tired and old. When was the last time he drank anything? His power is waning, right? So his strength might have been down at this time as well. But he still overpowered Alucard at the end of the day. However, Dracula. Next time, just have a beer, man. Have a brewski. Enjoy. Here's to you, man. Enjoy a brewski. I'm not doing that at all. I'm totally praising you, man. This was all for you. This was all planned for you. I'm not doing that at all because my throat's starting to get sore, from talking too much. And not at all. This isn't anything to do with that. This is all for you, Vlad. All for you, my friend. So, that being said, he still manages to overpower Alucard. And that fight scene, as I said, amazing. And then, he slams him into Alucard's old room. And at least that's what they say. Or Dracula's old room. I thought it was supposed to be, it was basically his childhood room. It's Alucard's childhood room. I might be wrong, but either way, the memories are on the wall, quite literally. The paintings, all that stuff. And that's where Dracula stops. He just stops. And he looks at the painting of his dead wife, Lisa. He realizes, it's like, what have I done? I'm hurting our boy, my son, my boy, like, because he was getting rage and ravage, and nothing would stop his vengeance from happening. And then he realizes what he's been doing. He's been the only thing left of his wife that he literally went to war on the world for. The only thing left of her is their son, and he's killing him. And he feels so disgusted with himself. He starts weeping. He's sobbing. He's just like, he's gone almost completely mad. And Alucard has continuously stated that throughout this season, that my father is a brilliant man, but unfortunately he's gone insane. He's gone mad. He's borderline insane. There's no speck of compassion left in him anymore. Nothing that my mother loved is left in him. Sort of, that's his reasoning. And we'll talk about Dracula's character here in a minute, because I just want to finish up this part, but because there's more to talk about. And it makes a lot of sense considering his personality throughout this season. But simply put, at this point, Alucard, grabs a stake, and he lets him stake him. Dracula basically lets Alucard kill him, and Trevor comes in and sort of delivers the final blow to finish him off completely, and that's the end. Dracula is now gone. Dracula is dead. Now, Really, really powerful. Really emotional. Great final scene. I don't know what season 3. I guess we're gonna follow Carmilla and all that crap and like the remnants. I mean, it's not like Dracula was the key binding all these night creatures he unleashed, right? That was all the Forge Master stuff. So while Isaac, who was going to defend him, that's another thing. Forgot to bring that up. Isaac was going to stand there and defend him, and at the very end, Dracula had this mirror that he could transport anything anywhere, and he's like, Isaac, you're a good friend, and sort of whisked him away so he could get away his death. So Isaac's still out there. So maybe it's Carmilla, Hector, and Isaac now against everybody. Who knows? Because now they think they sort of have peace. Still night monsters running around, but once they're slaughtered slowly but surely, peace will start to happen again. Trevor also gives Alucard his home, I believe. Yeah. He basically says, well, the castle is on top, and the Belmont is down below, and all this knowledge, don't let this be a tomb, let this be your home, right? And all this cool stuff. And I'm like, poor Alucard gonna live there all alone. Why don't you guys live there with him? Why give him your home? Why don't you all basically be like, okay, this is my wing, this is your wing, and stay together? I don't really get it, but either way, they do that. So Carmilla here ends up beating the ever-loving shit out of Hector because she wants a Forge Master. She wants a Forge Master. She wants to raise an army, and so she's going to be the big bad. I assume now that Dracula's dead, she's going to be the big bad of season 3. Maybe once again, along with Isaac. Isaac's still out there in the desert somewhere. So she's trying to return back to her home country. The two ancestral homes, as I said, Alucard and Trevor, sort of getting along finally. But of course, they're still giving each other the finger and stuff. It's definitely very interesting. So at the end, Trevor and Silpha, they pretty much decide to Silpha sort of convinces them that he's better being a hunter, being an adventurer, being with her. So they're going to stay together, all that fun jazz. I mean, the Belmont line has to continue somehow, right? So it's implied that they're going to be traveling together, going on adventures, battling monsters, all that stuff. So they leave. They say farewell to their good friend Alucard. And now we also see Alucard in the final scene. I believe it's the final scene. We see him absolutely weeping, crying his eyes out, after realizing what he's done. He's not only, his mother's dead, and now he's had to kill his own father. And now he's alone. His friends just left. Now he's alone with his grief. And I'm kind of worried about this because I don't want Alucard to turn into the season 3 villain. I don't want that to happen. So I'm kind of concerned. I don't want that to be the case because he had to do it, right? He had to do it. He had to stop his father. He had to, now he's got the castle, he's got the Belmont estate and all that. He can, I don't know, subtly bring this knowledge to the humans or something, let it flourish again. I don't know what he can do, but either way, I just don't want him to turn into a villain because I felt so bad for him. And the scene goes on for some time. There's not really any words spoken. It just goes on. He starts crying, and it doesn't just cut away. We continuously just see him trying to rub back the tears, and they just keep flowing because he's now alone. His mother's dead. His father's dead at his own hand, and he's just it's just overstricken with a crazy amount of grief. I can't imagine being in his position. So really somber, really happy. All right, we've stopped the crazy madman that is Dracula. Let's go on more adventures attitude. And then in the end, we also get the ramifications on the flip side of that and stuff. And I really like that aspect, but it definitely ended that way on a somber note. It was really somber in that way because I'm pretty sure that was the last scene. It didn't end with Trevor and Silpha. It ended with Alucard. Anyways, so that was season 2. That was a huge thing. Now, as I already said, soundtrack, animation, everything, fire. Amazing. 8 episodes. It felt like way longer, But that's a good thing. It was amazing. I don't really know what they're going to do for season 3. I just hope Alucard doesn't become the villain. I kind of hope Dracula comes back, because he always comes back in the game. He always returns. I hope he comes back. I don't know how, why. Maybe as a good guy, maybe as an evil. I don't know. But I want to just talk really quick before we end the review, because I'm pretty sure this is already going 35 minutes, 40 minutes strong. Is Alucard says it. Godbrand or Isaac or somebody else says it. Alucard definitely says it. He's suicidal. And he tells him this. In the final battle, Alucard tells his father, this has been, he doesn't say like a childhood tantrum, but this has been the longest drawn out suicide note in history. That's what you're trying to do, because he's starving himself. He lied to Hector about culling the humans. He's trying to eradicate everything, and then there'll be nothing left, and then he'll starve and die. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to return the world to almost a peaceful state, which is what Isaac is after, and he knows that true intention because Dracula and Isaac actually had this conversation about how Hector believes he's going to cull a small number of humans so the vampires can continue to feed, but that's it. The rest of humanity gone. Hector and Isaac around. That's about it, right? But that's not the intention. He wants to starve the vampires as well. All a hidden agenda. Only Isaac knows about it. He's trying to just eradicate both. Just trying to get rid of everything. Because he doesn't want to live anymore. He wants to die. He just... Now, why doesn't he just stake himself or something? I mean, that's going really deep. Maybe we'll make another video about that. I doubt it, but maybe we'll talk about that in the next video or something like that, or in the final video. But pretty much... that's all it is. He wants to eradicate. He wants to. He doesn't have the fire in his eyes anymore, as I believe it was Hector or Isaac said it. He doesn't have that like drive anymore. He's weak. He's tired. He's feeble. He's a man on his deathbed. He hasn't been drinking because he's done. He's done with life. He doesn't want to be here anymore. He just wants to complete the war, eradicate humanity, get rid of the vampires as well, and then die. It's just been one drawn out long suicide note. That's all it is, one long drawn out suicide. And then in the end, you know, that's why he lets Alucard kill him in the end. He's just like, you know what, now I'm done. Because now he realizes now he's actually turned into a monster. And it's so powerful. Like, I love that they don't just... Okay, yeah, he's like, he realizes he's killing his son. Oh, it's so sad. And that's it. And then they move on and then he stakes him. They draw it. Same with the last scene with Alucard crying. They draw it out. But they draw it out purposely for huge impact, to make you feel it. How many times Dracula said, I'm killing our boy. Lisa, I'm hurting our boy. Like, he kept repeating himself. He couldn't believe what he had just been doing. He kept saying the words to fully get the impact, to understand, I was killing our boy. He doesn't say how, but what he's saying it out loud because it sounds so absurd out loud what his actions just did. How could I do that? How could I ever hurt Lisa's son? How could I ever hurt my son? How could I hurt our boy? You know, it's just, it was such a, shut up phone. It was such a, I'm not re-recording this. It was such a hugely impactful moment, which the phone just ruined. But I thought it was the best. Like, Dracula has had a 4-dimensional story going down. As I said, when I talked about them sitting on the laurels, like, he could have, from the season 1 premise, he's justified, he's 3-dimensional, he's killing all humanity because they killed his wife and they stood by, they could have done something, they didn't do anything. This was their second chance. He gave them a chance, they didn't listen, and then he decided to kill them all. 3-dimensional, justified, done. They could have sat on that could have been Dracula's character at the end of season 2. But they went a step further and went the suicide route, which added another layer that wasn't necessary, but it worked. It wasn't necessary to make Dracula a good character. Now it made him a great character because he kept evolving. Now his position has changed. He's changed his mind. It took him a few years, but he's calmed down. He's starting to calm down, and he realizes he's tired of everything. He's tired of the life. He hates the world. He hates humanity. He hates all vampires. He has no pleasure in anything that exists in the world anymore. So now he wants to die. He's just done. But now he's committed to finish his work, and it's the last little thing that he's holding on to before he's got to kick the bucket. You know, it's I could rant about Dracula's character in the series for like another 25-30 minutes, but we're gonna end the video here. I hope I got across all the great points, and I hope you guys fully got the impact of what that scene that made me tear up. That scene, Alucard, and after he beat him down into his old bedroom, and Dracula was just weeping. He couldn't process. He literally kept saying the same words because he could not process what he had just done. It just didn't make sense. How had he fallen so far? How had he become to this point? It just didn't make sense. To him, it boggled his mind. He felt so ashamed of himself, and so he was repulsed by his own monstrous actions that he couldn't even believe it. And that hugely powerful scenes in the season finale, powerful scenes throughout the whole series. So anyway, if this hasn't convinced you guys, if for some reason you watched the first one, which I'll admit wasn't my best, most polished video, and you're watching this video now and you still haven't seen the series, don't know why you're watching, maybe you guys just love me that much, but I hope I've convinced you to watch. I hope you sit down and rewatch it if you haven't watched it since it came out, and if you decide, okay, the story's done, I'm not interested in season 3, come on, guys. Watch season 3 with me. Watch season 3. Let's do this. Let's watch season 3. Let's review it. Let's get these videos out before Halloween on a timely fashion like I'm so great at doing. But season 2 was fire. It took what season 1 started to say, hey, I got an idea for a movie. And then it was like, boom, let's make a trilogy. It was just like, all right, this is what we're talking about. So I don't know what season 3 is going to be. I don't think they can hit the notes that season 2 did. I'm not expecting it to be a step just up from season 2, because Dracula really, as you guys can no doubt tell in my rants, Dracula made this series so good. Doesn't mean Trevor and Alucard and everybody without him won't be a great series, but without Dracula, I don't know if we can reach the highs from season 2 in season 3 as many times, right? Or as great. So, but I'm still holding out that season 3 is going to be really good, going to be fire, definitely the same quality I'm expecting and stuff like that, the same writing. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. As always, it's always very much appreciated. Don't forget to have a happy and safe Halloween wherever you guys are and however you are celebrating it. One more video to go, and then Halloween night we will be discussing, either doing a stream or discussing just basically the whole series, Castlevania as a whole, that kind of idea, and anything else. I'll make that decision when I'm confident that I can get the season 3 video out before Halloween night, because that still might be on the table. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video wasn't like an hour long or something like that, but either way, thanks, guys. Drink responsibly, as always. As I said before, be safe on Halloween and all that stuff. And leading up to Halloween, of course, wherever you are, follow the regulations of your city, of your town, of your state, country, province, wherever you guys are. That's the only way that we can get through this together. So, drink responsibly. See you next time.